Welcome to Just a Minute. Oh, thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, it's my huge pleasure to welcome you to this special edition of Just a Minute from BBC Television Centre. This year, Just a Minute turns 45, and as a special birthday treat, we've taken over your television screens. So without further ado, please welcome to the show 4 talented performers, and they are seated on my right, Paul Merton and Josie Lawrence, and seated on my left, Jason Manford and John Sargent. Please welcome all 4 of them. Players will try to speak for just a minute on a subject that I give them, and they will try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. The other 3 panelists can challenge at any time they wish, and if I uphold the challenge, they gain a point and take over the subject. If not, the person speaking gains a point and keeps the subject. The person speaking, when the whistle goes, which tells us 60 seconds have elapsed, gains an extra point. And by the way, they can repeat the subject on the card. Paul, would you take the first subject? Once upon a time. Tell us something about that subject in this game. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
Once upon a time is, of course, the traditional beginning of many a fairy story. Once upon a time, there was a princess who lived in a magic forest. She was young, 22. Nobody else could see her. She bathed naked in the lagoon. Sorry, I completely lost it. Who are these people?
You talked about her being naked and you went.
I went, but it's gone.
No, it's your own vision destroyed it.
Yes, it is. I'm happy with the vision.
Josie, you challenged.
It was hesitation, I'm
afraid. It was
afraid.
hesitation, my darling, so you have a correct challenge. You get a point for that. There are 44 seconds still available. Once upon a time, starting now.
Once upon a time always conjures up an idea of magical places. When somebody says in a dulcet tone, once upon a time to me, I feel compelled to grab the nearest pillow and suckle on my thumb. When...
John, you've challenged.
Technically, you can't suckle on your thumb. I mean, I've tried it, and it just does not work.
Yes, but you're not me, and I can suckle.
Yeah. She's got a thumb full of milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, look.
Now, within the rules of just a minute and grammar and language, I would incline to agree with you, John. You can suck your thumb, but not suckle on your thumb.
Oh, right.
So, John, you have a correct challenge. You have the subject, once upon a time. There are 28 seconds available, starting now.
Once upon a time is a phrase I have to use for my 4 grandchildren because they want me to read a story. The trouble is, once I say...
no, sorry. I said I thought it was a repetition of once, but of course it's in the title.
It's on the title.
I apologise, John.
And you can repeat the title or individual words in the title. Sorry. So, John, an incorrect challenge. A point to you. 20 seconds still available, starting now.
When I say once upon a time to my grandchildren, I feel...
there we are, Paul.
Repetition of grandchildren.
Yes, you've got too many...
Well, I mean, I was thrown by the interruption. I thought the audience wouldn't understand that I had grandchildren. I don't think that's fair.
I think they believe you.
Really? But I'm too young, aren't I?
I tell you what, John, it's not fair. It suckles.
Right. John, those are... You know what I like to do in this game? When someone gives a wonderful remark like that and gets a round of applause, I give a bonus point for that. Yes. Paul, you had a correct challenge, and you have 16 seconds. Tell us more about Once Upon a Time, starting now.
Once upon a time, there was a small girl called Goldilocks who was making her way through the woods. She came upon a cottage, knocked on the door, walked in, saw 3 bowls of porridge laid out on the table. She thought to herself, I don't think much of this is a buffet. Where is... Buffet's a good word.
So, as I said before, in this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was Paul Merton, and that situation's very fair at the end of the first round. Paul Merton, Josie Lawrence and John Sargent have all got 2 points. Jason Manford has yet to speak. And, oh, you have spoken.
I'm just taking it all in, working it out, and then wait till I go. My God. I'm doing point after point after point.
You've already had a go at John,
That
which
would be
was lovely.
repetition.
But that's because we're pals.
do point after point after point.
Right, Jason, we'd like you to begin the next round. The subject is turning into my dad. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
Well, over the years, I've found myself turning to my dad on many occasions, whether it be phrases that I'm using around the house, such as, if you're cold, then put a jacket on. Turn these lights off, it's not Blackpool illuminations. I found myself only recently sitting in the car waiting for my wife to actually get ready for a night out, thinking that would make her move a little bit faster. Of course, it didn't. And beeping the horn only annoys the neighbours.
Paul Challenge.
Bit of a hesitation.
Definite hesitation, I would have said, but, well, that's the first time you've actually spoken.
Yes,
Well,
we have only just got. How long was that? Was that like 8 seconds? No. That felt like about 2.5 minutes, was that not?
No. It was 31 seconds.
31 seconds, great.
That's all right. I'll take that.
Paul, you picked him up there on the hesitation. Correct challenge, turning into my dad, starting now.
Turning into my dad is a phenomenon that you wouldn't experience.
Jason, challenge.
Well, I thought it was turning into my dad.
No, it wasn't actually your
OK, sorry, I just thought it was about my dad. I thought, that sounds nothing like my dad.
I tell you what I'll do, because we enjoyed your interruption, give you a bonus point.
OK. I'll take it.
But, Paul, you have another correct challenge,
Yeah.
and 29 seconds starting now.
Teenagers were only really invented in the 1950s. Before that, you were expected to dress like your parents as soon as you could reasonably be expected to do so. So a boy of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10...
Yes. Jason, you challenged.
Yeah, for repetition.
Of expected.
Well, is that what he said? Yeah. That's what I thought.
Well, Jason, you may not have played the game much, but you were quick there.
Man. It's funny how quick you pick it up.
Yes. So that was a correct challenge, a repetition. So you have a point for that. In 19 seconds, and you take back the subject of turning into my dad, starting now.
One way I know I'll never turn into my dad is because he's so good at getting rid of spiders out of the bath and I'm still making me cry.
John, challenge.
Spiders at the bath. I mean, what sort of English is that?
I never said at the bath.
At the bar?
I said out
OK.
He said out.
I said out
the
the bath.
bar.
Yeah, out the bar,
I think you're
spiders
being
out the bar.
regionalist. there,
You said
John.
bath, for a start.
Out of the
Just
bath.
northern, I'm sorry.
Really? I've never heard anyone say that before, but I don't travel much.
You've never travelled north of Watford, obviously. Because you
sorry
didn't
about
understand the North Country, did you there, John? Right. Jason, you have an incorrect challenge.
OK.
So you keep the subject. You've got another point, of course. Turning into my dad, 11 seconds starting now.
When getting rid of insects in our house, I have to shout the wife to get rid of them.
Josie, challenge.
I'm afraid he's already said wife.
Yes, your wife came before.
I did, yes.
Asked her to
I've
go in
got
the
two
car.
of them, though. It's a different person.
And even if you had 4, it was still with repetition. So, Josie, you had a correct challenge. You got the subject of turning into my dad, and there are 7 seconds starting now.
Of course, I'm a lady, so it would be physically impossible for me to find myself turning into my dad. Although I have got...
Oh, well done.
So, Josie Lawrence was then speaking when the whistle went, gained that extra point, and so she's now out in the lead with Paul Merton. And John Sargent, we'd like you to begin the next round. The subject, I'm sure this is right up your street, reggae. 60 seconds starting now.
I will be...
Hesitation?
Is that fair?
No, you're right.
Is it?
You're right. Let's abandon the way of playing the programme in 45 years so that John can feel comfortable in what's being done.
Well, that's very generous of you, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have it.
Please, no, let him have it.
To be
Let him
fair, as a regular TV
Yeah.
viewer, I
Yeah.
definitely would prefer to hear John's version of reggae.
Yeah.
So, John, they're giving it to you. So you have a point. And you have reggae still. You haven't got it yet because you haven't started. And you have 58 seconds starting. You ready, John? Starting now.
Reggae was always a rather frightening subject for me. I was going through a phase where I was trying to be a West Indian, tough, cool guy. When people said reggae in those days, you had to say, yeah, man. After a bit, I found this rather tedious because I hated the music and there was no point in pretending. So what I did then was to not say anything like that. I would say something like, or perhaps, or...
Josie challenged you.
A repetition of say.
Yes, you said say.
Say?
Yes.
People say things and they say other things, don't they? It's not...
In just a minute, if you repeat the word...
Say?
Yes, say. S-A-Y.
I think we should change the rules after 45 years and let John keep the subject. Yeah.
It is a very tough business. I mean,
I better ask you, Josie. Do you want John to carry on with reggae?
No, I want the part.
Right, Josie, a correct challenge. You have 36 seconds available still. Reggae starting now.
Reggae is such sexy music. I think it's the offbeat rhythm that does it for me, and the twang of those guitars. My favourite was always Bob Marley and the Wailers. No, woman, I didn't cry. I was jamming in my kitchen to the rock-steady beat, or going down to Electric Avenue to meet my other friends. The trouble with reggae is it's quite difficult to dance to unless you're a cool person, and I am not. You have to have really bendy, soft...
Jason challenged.
I think Josie is a cool person. So I think it's incorrect.
Well, she's proving it now, isn't she? So
I
will we
love
give
you,
him a bonus
Jason.
point for speaking?
Yeah.
All right, Jason, you've not played the game before. You'll give you a bonus point. But Josie gets the point because she was interrupted.
Yes, sorry.
And there are 5 seconds still, Josie, with you on reggae starting now.
Let's all go to a party and dance to the rock-steady...
Paul challenged.
We had Rocksteady
Yeah, we did.
and we had dance
Yes,
before.
We did. We did.
Yes, you did, yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, you got in with 2 seconds to go. You haven't won any friends in the audience, but you won a point. And you've got 2 seconds on reggae starting now.
Bob Marley, Pete Tosh and Bunny Wailer made up...
So Paul Merton was speaking then with the whistle when gained that extra point. He's now equal with Josie Lawrence in the lead, closely followed by Jason Manford and John Sargent in that order. And Josie, we'd like you to begin the next round. The subject is my nemesis. Tell us something about my nemesis in this game starting now.
My nemesis was a girl named Judy. Now, please remember that name because hopefully it will never be repeated. I remember my nemesis being beautiful.
Paul,
You say remember twice. Remember that name, and I do remember.
Yeah.
Oh, I did.
Yes.
You did?
That, otherwise, I wouldn't have pressed the button.
I did.
You did.
I said remember
You
twice.
did, yes.
So, Paul, you have...
Otherwise, I wouldn't have pressed the button.
All right. Don't labour the point.
We're caught in a time loop.
What did I do?
I had to press the button.
Oh.
Paul, the correct challenge, and you have 48 seconds. My nemesis starting now.
My nemesis is a man who had exactly the same name as me at school. He went by the nomenclature of Paul Martin, and that was what I was really called when I was born. I had to change the letters that acquire the description of me when I became a...
Jason challenged.
Was there like a made-up word in there somewhere? Was there some sort of hesitation?
No,
after
Jason.
name? Sounded like you went...
I don't think I didn't cross species. I was panicking, but I didn't cross species.
There are occasions, Jason, when I give the benefit of the doubt.
No, that's fine.
And I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Paul.
I get
If I
it.
can redress the balance sometime later, I will do it for you.
Thank you.
But right now, Paul, the benefit of the doubt, you have the 33 seconds, my nemesis, starting now.
I suppose if you do have a nemesis, it's important to realise who he or she may be, because you could be indulged in normal social chit-chat at a party without realising the person standing in front of you in human form. Near the humus. In human form.
Yeah, it's trying to change it and goes into something else.
Yeah,
Josie, you challenge first.
Yes, hesitation.
Yeah, we call that hesitation. Josie, you have 18 seconds. You take back the subject of my nemesis, starting now.
My nemesis was better at everything apart from acting. At school, I excelled.
Jason, challenge.
repetition of school.
Yes, you mentioned school when you were talking before.
Do you remember?
I wouldn't cry, darling. You're only
Do
one
you know
point
what?
behind
I
Eddie.
bet she's enjoying this.